This will be the second and last video in this particular beautiful location. Look at this. Got the silhouette back. This is Crotch Cam, the sequel. You know, I renamed the title of the video with the same background as this from like, I can't remember what the original title, but it's pretty normal. I think it was like, oh, don't kill your gods, to Crotch Cam because nobody was clicking on it because the title and the thumbnails don't really mesh. And when I changed it, it instantly got back on track. And I mean, we're talking about a difference in like what, 20 views, so it's not that much. But the thing I'm trying to recognize is that when I'm doing the thumbnails like I am at the moment, that make him look like it's just a total fever dream, I gotta make sure that the titles match. So, is what it is. I caught myself earlier as I was walking about doing stuff, thinking uh, some negative thoughts. I caught myself, what is that phrase called? It's like negative self-thinking, negative, just negative thought. Anyway, the monologue in my head literally said, like, I don't like doing things. And I thought of that and I almost went along with it. Like, yeah, dude, this fucking sucks doing things. And then I realized, no, you know, fuck you. Fuck you. Who do you think you are to hijack my brain like that? This extra pillow on the seat isn't working. Like, what the fuck? This voice just comes out of nowhere. I mean, it happens all the time. It happens to all of us. Just comes out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, I'm going along with it. Like, yeah, really, let me do that. Let me just throw the whole day under the bus because my brain wants to be a little dipshit asshole for half a second. No, not doing that. The consequences of such an affirmation, deadly, deadly. It's those little ones that really get you going down a spiral. And I'm so glad I recognized it because in that same moment where I was thinking to myself, I don't like doing things, I also thought to myself, I was thinking through all the things that I could do later today. And I was like, ugh, there's nothing to do. I don't want to do anything. Uh, I don't, I don't like doing things, right? That was my justification for it in the back of my head. But the truth was that I had slept in, and the only thing that I had done for the day was my normal job around here and editing that trash video that precedes this one. So I was trying to get, my brain was trying to get out of everything of the day because I was just riding the high of doing one little thing. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not going to let that happen because it's when I give in to those little things that days turn into a gray fuzz. It's when weeks just go down the drain, nothing happens. Like, really? Dude, you were thinking, I don't like doing things. And I know this little goblin inside of my head, the little homunculi that resides upper decker in this zone. I imagine him as like quite literally a little goblin that runs around in the folds of my upper brain. And an interesting practice that I do sometimes is that when I get these thoughts, especially like I know the lads know these specific types of thoughts where you're catastrophizing about self-defense. Maybe it's like an emotional or like a physical sense, but you're like, okay, what would I do if I got into this fight, this particular sort of combat? And it could even be like a debate or something. And then you just go start thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. It gets you down a rabbit hole where eventually you're thinking about the past and all the fuck ups that you did, and you're just digging it all back up and making it worse, thinking about like, what could I have done differently? What will I do in the future? Can I? Well, it seems like I can't, so I probably can't. And so I imagine this like little goblin dude just running up in like the folds of the brain up here in between the hemispheres. He like ducks down in that little crevice and hides away from me where I can't see him, so then I don't realize what he's doing. But he's up there like pulling, ripping wires out of place, or like spraying chemicals in all the wrong places and just causing mayhem, waiting for me to notice, hoping I don't. But I always do. And when I do, the easiest way to get rid of those is just to imagine this little pathetic goblin dude and you going up there and whooping his ass. Like if he wants to instigate something, right? Because that's what all these thoughts, they're instigations onto your very being. So what I do is I'm like, okay, buddy, you want action? And I just imagine myself beating him up for like 5 minutes and blaming the whole thing on him. It's just a scapegoat. Like I'm not thinking this because I want to think this. I'm thinking with this shit because this motherfucker's fucking with me. Like this little asshole with just nothing but sadistic, hopeless pursuits, right? He's got nothing going for him. That's all he can do with his existence. That's all he's good for. So I just give it straight back to him, right? And what this really is you're just taking like the negative thought and turning it in on itself, right? Because what happens when you start thinking about like, oh, what am I going to do in this hypothetical situation that I need to win? And eventually you don't, right? Because how many times do you get into those situations, like assuming, like most of these times when you're like falling asleep, how many of those situations do you get in and you get to the end of it and you're like, hell yeah, I just got a victory, and then you fall asleep and have a great night? Usually never. Usually it ruins the whole night's sleep, and then the next day. So the idea is just to turn it in on itself. And then once you beat the shit out of it, you like kill it or maul it, right? You can't just keep doing the same thing. You gotta get creative sometimes. But once you do that, it's over. Like it's just silence. You've like literally convinced your brain that there was something making you think that way. And now it's dead. So you can't think that way until it comes back. I mean, it always comes back. But what can you do besides beat the shit out of the little goblin inside your head? Ah, you know that feeling after you eat bananas? Like it makes your mouth feel all starchy, fuzzy. I hate that. Hate that. Not a fan of bananas. It's a stupid fruit. Mass produced, part of a propaganda campaign. That's not a conspiracy. It is. Bananas are popular because of literal propaganda, marketing, whatever. Everything is popular because of propaganda. Unless you just like something that you created, then it's your thing. And then if you want other people to be interested in it, you need to market it and propagate it, make propaganda out of it. But this little goblin, right, the original point that I was getting to, got off track. Let's go back to it. The original point was that there's just a certain level of frustration that you feel when you're doing normal things, and once you get out of that mode of doing things on a regular basis, even for like a little while, right? If you go a full 24 hours a weekend without doing anything, you're gonna start back up doing things, and then you're not gonna want to do that thing because you're just gonna break from it. Any enjoyment, the satisfaction that you could have got in out of the outcome was so small at the time and is so out of you now that it's not like in consideration. So basically, like big pause, strain of doing things is not actual strain. And let's put a pin in that because when I want to do things, when I feel like doing things, when I don't feel like doing things, it is often because I'm not doing things. All the things that I want to do require me to simultaneously do a lot of things because if I want to come on here and talk about things, I need to have something to talk about. I need to go have experiences. I need to write about the core philosophies that I rule my life by. I need to have actual activities in my life, events that I can talk about, things that I can relate these philosophical concepts to. And then I also need to be talking about it, right? You get where this like pattern comes in? Like sort of to be able to do all the things that I want to do, I need to be doing all of them, or else there's a hole somewhere. There's a gap. There's a missing link. And that was the original thought that got me going, and I forgot about it until about halfway in. Because when I caught myself saying I don't want to do things, it was more or less like I didn't do one of those or two of those things today. And therefore, the other one is not of valid consideration. And when I'm out of time for the day, I can't just do one of the things unless I'm preparing for another one. So, where I'm at right now, right here, is getting myself back on track. Because normally I write when it's still dark out in the morning. Didn't do that because I woke up when the sun came up, slept in, didn't really go outside, didn't experience things, didn't get to be able to observe the way that things are going on and reflect upon the things that are that were festering in the mind before I had written them out. Right? Because with me personally, when I get these ideas that I do eventually go and write out, it's strange because when they're originally conceived, it's like something's growing inside of you. Like let's say it's literally metaphorically gestating. It's a gross metaphor. And when you don't write it down, parts of that idea die because the process of writing it down is actually giving life to it. And there's more with the process of writing that actually fleshes out the idea. So when you skip that stage and just try to keep the idea, it's as if it dies in the womb. And I make this metaphor because there's this feeling that accompanies an idea that you allow to die, which is kind of like as if you have an infection on a small wound, right? A physical one. And that's the feeling that it's sort of like something's under your skin, something that you lost, something that you can't have there anymore. when it dies, you're obliged to get rid of it, and then that whole conceptual void has to heal in a way. But on the other hand, when you allow it to flourish, when you give it the time of day, it comes into its own and it has like a birth, you might say. You give it life, allow it to grow into something better. It's not dead, but it's that initial conception of the idea itself. And this could be something as serious as figuring out what one wants to do with their life. That's a big one. We all got to figure that out. Whereas, if you ever get an inkling, right, you get a hint, a little bit of intuition. If you never follow that through, like when you allow an idea to stay a wisp, some ethereal conception, it vanishes very quickly. If you don't pursue it, it never becomes anything. And you lose it. And you don't know where to look for it again. You have to start all over. And I don't know, it's something about that first hint of the idea that crushes you if you don't pursue it because you see it out of the corner of your eye and you're like, oh, I'll go check that out later. But then you can never remember where it is. You've lost that forever. I mean, you could find something similar to it eventually, proactive, but you can never go back there to that one. You can never reach into the profundity, the moment of realization that something more was there. You can never get that back. And then, moreover, you can have all these fancy ideas and plans and whatnot, but when you never take it into reality, you never see it reflected in the everyday. It means nothing because you're making abstractions out of abstractions, building them on top of each other. There's no checks and balances with the way that the world works, so to speak. Right? We all have conceptions about the way that people are, and imagine we just get all those from the internet and we actually never go outside and double check that. A lot of people do that nowadays, and they have a very, very sad conception of the way that the world works. I don't want that to be me, but I can feel it happening to my ideas when I don't go outside, when I don't go and experience things, when I don't actually try to find the physical proof of my theory. And that's one thing, being able to see it with my own eyes, but then the third perspective comes in, right? We're kind of going from like an inner perspective to a like my eyes looking inward, then to my eyes looking outward. And then I come here or to somebody else in real life and I put forward my idea. And then we get the outside eyes looking at what we have observed within and without ourselves to double check that, right? It's like peer review. If I don't go through that whole process, I know that something is missing, right? I can feel it. And finding those things about my own conception of reality are very, very difficult to find. So, my entire life is basically structured around a reconciliation with reality. Pardon me. And when I consistently miss out on one step of the process, things get bleak very, very quickly because I know when things are missing. it's to a very obsessive point, and this is the way my mind works, and this is the way I am also make peace with myself is by finding what I once called in a diary entry as the middle text, the bridge between the philosophy and the experience, so to say. And I'm butchering the idea because I still haven't really explored it in a lot of depth. I mean, there are so many of these ideas out there. I've probably put thousands of them onto the page, and the ones that I really flesh out, I have very few of those because it takes a lot of time. So forgive me for the incompleteness of this particular one. The middle text, so to speak, structuring my existence around it. It definitely sounds incredibly schizophrenic, like delusional in a sense. And there is some delusion that needs to go into pursuing something that isn't yet there. But because I trust my intuition, and because I know that there's nothing there yet, I also know that nothing will be there until I put it there. So it's the manifestation of creating something in very, very, very simple speak. It shouldn't have been that difficult to say, articulate to get to it, but I mean, we're playing hopscotch here, jumping from one point to the next. The act of creation. And the reason why I'm doing things the way I'm doing now is because if I don't create, quote unquote, with a certain amount of integrity, I can feel that bleed out of my own words. And I often get frustrated because a good 50 to 60% of my ideas are lacking in this structural integrity, in this foundational stratum, the belief, the justifiable belief in it, the self evidence, what I called the God, basically, where it's like once we progress to common sense, we can go a step further, and that's where we find our gods, right? Some people have religion, some people have science, some people have consumerism. It's a pretty big one. It's a really sad one, too. But a lot of us need gods. A lot of us understand common sense, but have a very hard time with the deeper meaning of things. So, it's the pursuit of that that really keeps me going. Because I know that something's there, but I know it's not just going to come to me. I need to actively pursue it to create it. Not the thing that's down there, but the understanding of it. And that is why I love doing things. To bring it around to the original point, no, me saying I don't like doing things is incredibly destructive to myself. because each small excuse that takes me away from doing one small thing towards my goal, it's like a house of cards. It crumbles so quickly. And that's what burnout is for me. I hit it so often, like sometimes twice a week, burning out. But the thing that's kept me going is being able to express why I burnt out, to figure out why I was doing what I was doing and to get myself back on track. And when it does happen, it doesn't take more than a day to get back on track, sometimes quicker. I need to stay very, very active to avoid going down that rabbit hole. I think more than some people. Some people could take a weekend off and be able to go back into their work and be able to focus on it, get engaged in it. I mean, let's all acknowledge that those people are very rare, but I feel like to some degree I'm very bad at that. Um, I need to stay engaged about every 3 hours, not including sleep. I need to be doing something that I deem valuable after the fact every 3 hours. So my entire daily existence is structured around this, pursuing one thing after the other. And I can't just do it haphazardly, not meaninglessly. Like, I need to actually know what I'm doing every single time. And that is very, very hard. The cognitive demand is insane. And what that would mean is making a video that actually says something. Like the last one, that was bullshit. I hate that video. Like, it was fun to create, it was funny when I was making it, but I genuinely hate it because of that. Because I completed it and I felt empty because the video was empty. There was nothing in there. So creating a video that means something, expounding upon a concept that I've been working on for a while, making connections with those ideas, doing a diary entry that actually gives reliable data on what I did that day. So many times I've made diary entries that sugar-coated the day. And I go back and I look at that diary entry and I think to myself, what a waste of time. I long for accountability to shit. I want people to hold me accountable to things. It doesn't happen very often. People are scared of holding other people accountable. But not to get you off track, going back, diary entry that matters, expounding on a concept, connecting ideas, making a video that matters, researching something that I actually need to know. That's hard to do. If I need to know something for a concept, right, I need to get another perspective on it. Finding that's hard enough, then sitting down to read it is another thing, and then actually engaging with it in a manner that you absorb the idea is a complete other. It's it's a lot. And then another thing is like just going outside, getting the sunlight in the morning, eating the macros that you need for the day. That's the hardest one for me. Honestly, I swear to God, I can't eat consistently. You know how I pointed out in that last video that I've got like a tiny waist? I'm pretty sure Like my stomach is also like fucking small, and it makes things hard to eat. So it's hard to focus when I've eaten a lot, and it's hard to focus when I haven't eaten in a while. So like actually maintaining eating on a schedule, even though I'm not hungry, is so important. Sleep is probably the easiest for me on the big three, or yeah, like getting your body up and running, like sleep, eat, make sure your circadian rhythm is on cycle because otherwise your hormones won't release at the right times and they'll be unpredictable and you won't be able to stick to a schedule because variables will change. And so that's another big thing. But then actually going outside in nature and engaging with it, thinking about it, letting your imagination loose, the actual activity of relaxation, the mental activity of relaxation, just allowing things to go where they please, right? You can let them go where they please. You can rein them in with meditation. You can focus them violently. And that's what I'm doing when I'm writing. And I need a balance of all those things. Typically, how it goes is I'll need to meditate on some level before I'll try to write something down or figure something out. And I'll block everything that's coming in, all the noise. And usually I'll just do this by opening up a text document on my computer, having my Wi-Fi off, and just staring at it until my brain starts working in the direction I want it to, which can take up to like 15 minutes. And then I'm laser focused. I let that go. I let that go. And then I can feel my energy starting to drain. And if I cannot pull out of that laser focus, I will keep pushing until I'm tired enough to let it affect the ideas that I have, or hungry enough to affect the ideas that I have, and the quality starts deteriorating. And then, even after I go and attend to those things afterwards, I will not be able to let that process go. And I'll laser focus on everything, the noise that comes in. And at that point, meditation isn't that good. It works. But I'm talking about like a forced relaxation where you say, I'm going to let the noise run around for a little bit, but I'm not going to do anything with it. And that's when you sit down and you turn on a stupid movie and you actually let yourself stop engaging with it enough to actually enjoy it, not to analyze it, not to be critical about it. That is also a lot harder than a lot of people would think. So, when it comes down to it, doing things is just about the only thing that I enjoy. There's nothing else in the world that I would rather be doing than things. And it pisses me off to no end. Like I can feel myself getting angry here. Like I can actually feel the heat building up. When I say to myself, when that little fucking goblin comes and he says, you don't like doing things. That's not the part that pisses me off the most. The part that pisses me off the most, though, is that I'm so instinctually ready to go along with it. Primed to just let him take my hand and lead me off into the wood chipper. And I can recover, but that's days, weeks, gone. In the past, it used to be weeks, months, years. that I would be in there just grinding away in the wood chipper. I am so invigorated right now to experience, to be a part of life, largely in part due to the fact that I can recognize and address that very, very simple thought in a maybe a convoluted manner, but in a way that makes sense to me, in a way that makes me ready to experience life. Pissed off to the point where any of those like depressing, nihilistic conceptions, I genuinely feel violent towards. And I'm not a violent person. I rarely get angry at people in normal situations. The things that piss me off are things where reality gets ignored, where the reality, we all have our own perceptions of reality and therefore there are different realities, but when the crossover gets ignored, when we allow ourselves to annihilate, that's a French philosophical term. We won't hear that very often. When we allow ourselves to get rid of things that are inside of reality by realizing that they're not there, by allowing them to just fade away, allow ourselves to become consciously ignorant to certain things, those things piss me off because I can feel them when they're gone and I don't know what they are until I claim them back. And I gave almost everything up, almost every single idea of reality that I had into that void of conscious ignorance back when I was a teenager. And I've been slowly pulling the pieces back out. And every single time I get one of these puzzle pieces back, it feels like I found a gold nugget. It makes me better able to interact with the world. I think it makes me a better person too. Because I was so ready to give up on everyone. But I realize that the only way that people will overcome their flaws are through an honesty, a type of honesty that they can understand, that they can process, a type of honesty that tells them what their life choices and behavior look like from an outside source, that makes them feel as though they saw it with their own eyes, making the idea feel like it was their own, and therefore it becomes their own, and therefore it gets taken into consideration. And it's finding out how to manufacture this form of honesty that I'm very, very aggressively pursuing. That is why I enjoy doing things. That is why I will keep doing things. And if I don't, every idea that I just said will be worthless because there will be nothing standing underneath it. There will be no middle text, no subtext, no context to everything that I just said. And without that, it just sounds nice. That is why I began what I'm doing. And that is why I will continue. Just a little tiny thought, like a little fucking goblin just came out of nowhere and almost buried that for me. Can you fucking believe that? Like, that could have taken a week of therapy to rip out, and I just exercised it on the spot. Yeah, grabbed that little thing by the back of its neck and squeezed until I was gripping its spine. Just fucking beat it over the microphone until it was dead. Get out of here, motherfucker. Some metaphors sound totally schizophrenic, I'm not gonna lie. I'm sure there's a reason why philosophers go insane. Actually, no, they don't very frequently. But I mean, if you take it per capita, there probably are a lot more insane philosophers than there are in the average population. Maybe. I'm sure there are more insane demographics. 42 minutes! Holy mother of fucking Jesus. Yeah, that little grip of intuition said, I don't want to do this thing. I don't want this thing. When you don't want something, it means you're avoiding something. When you're avoiding something, it means there's something you should be doing. If there's something you should be doing that you feel like you should be doing, that means that there's something you want to do. So for every avoidance, there's a desire. Love it. It works. That'll be it. Thanks for coming here, my hoes and homos. Thanks for attending my fags and females. Until next time. Button press says stop recording.